All right. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA select start. That was the cheat code that we used to get 30 extra players on the video game Contra in like the 80s or 90s. That is a cheat code. And if anything I've learned over the last 20 years of doing developmental behavioral pediatrics is that people caring for children with an autism spectrum disorder are looking for cheat codes. And today we're talking about leucovorin and autism. What do we know about it? How does it fit together? And why is it important? Here is what you can think about as our dip map for today. Listen, if you're not sure this video is for you, give me 30 more seconds, okay? We're going to talk about leucovorin. We're going to talk about leucovorin and autism. We're going to talk about the benefits of this medication. We're going to talk about side effects. We're going to talk about cost, okay? And we're going to talk about the application, like why are we thinking about this medication as it relates to autism? Why are some people calling this a cheat code for autism? Well, let's first start with a better question. Why are we talking about cheat codes in general? Well, listen, 1 out of 36 kids have autism, okay? That's a lot of kids. 4-to-1 male to female predominance. There's environmental factors. There's genetic factors. There's all these things that are playing into this condition. And when you're overwhelmed by the needs of these families, by the neurodevelopmental hurdles of these patients, people start looking for cheat codes. And there, over the course of my career, have been several. Let's talk about a few brief ones. Let's talk about hyperbaric oxygen. Listen, this was a cheat code that people talked about for a long time, and they're still talking about it, but it's not something we recommend because it doesn't actually deliver on its promises. The only thing this is good for is getting in and going to the bottom of the ocean as a submersible vessel, okay? Children with autism aren't going to respond well to being put into a giant metal lung. Okay, how about this one? Chelation therapy is another potential cheat code that people have been looking for, right? You're going into a place and they got a lab and they're doing some IVs and they're running stuff and they're chelating things we don't really know. And we're looking for outcomes. We're looking for cheat codes. We're looking for that breakthrough intervention as it relates to autism. Gluten, casein-free diets. These are cheat codes that people have looked for. Homeopathic remedies like essential oils or maybe good old camel's milk to try and address, the redox reactions in the body's need for these types of things to occur. The idea of cheat codes as it relates to autism, the idea of new and novel interventions that are going to provide a breakthrough for children that are up against these neurodevelopmental hurdles, this is not new. This is not new. And certainly when we think about leucovorin, it fits into a long line of potential breakthroughs. But what I want to submit to you during our time today is that leucovorin is different than all the things that I've just discussed, because leucovorin is accessible, it's reasonable, it's safe, and it has some nice data to support its use. So I want to talk about leucovorin and autism with you today. But why is this so pertinent right now? Leucovorin's not a new issue. It's been around. It's been around in circles in regards to autism for a while. But recently, for those of you who are aware, CBS just did a feature on a family. This was last week. Okay, this was last week. This would have been a week ago in February, where they did a feature about a family who had a child with an autism spectrum disorder who was significantly delayed in his ability to communicate using his words. And so the family sought out research and were led to an intervention that involved the medication leucovorin. And when they started leucovorin in their child very quickly began to demonstrate extravagant progress in his ability to express himself verbally. And since that feature has come out last week, my office, the office I work in, the team that I work with, has got no less than 1,000 phone calls about this. Okay. That's hyperbole, but it's true. So we thought, what's the best thing we could do? Let's gather together the information and let me teach you exactly what you need to know about leucovorin, because I do feel it is a different intervention than the things that we've previously discussed. It's a lot closer to a cheat code than the other things that we've been thinking about. So let's talk about leucovorin. All right, before we talk about leucovorin, listen, we got to talk about some serious chemistry stuff, okay? We got to understand how folate works, because the story with leucovorin starts with folate. Folate comes to us in our foods. It comes to us in our foods. We eat some broccoli. We eat some multivitamin. We do the things that people who love folate do, and it gets into our body, and it goes through this complicated system of arrows, okay? And it becomes other things, tetrahydrofolate, 5-10, methylene, tetrahydrofolate, and it goes around this circle, all right? These yellow boxes are different enzymatic reaction or enzymes that take one thing and make it into something else. And folate metabolism, okay, it looks pretty simple when you look at it, but it sits in the middle of like a million different processes in the body. Folate is super important, right? It's more than good old vitamin B9, right? Folate is important, and it's important because it doesn't just go around in circles. It's important because of what spins off of these circles and what those products, that downstream revenue of folate, do. What's their purpose? What's their point? What's their function? Let's talk about it. So, as you can see on the right side of our screen here, folate metabolism skews off and feeds different processes in the body, one of which is redox reactions. So like the cleaning up of the body, the cleaning up of different products, methylation, which is kind of providing fuel for enzymatic reactions. But the thing that I really want to focus on today, okay, is the DNA and RNA synthesis in that bottom right corner. You can see it in that bottom right corner. Folate is a part of a system that feeds the production of DNA and RNA. It also is part of the synthesis of neurotransmitters, and it's fuel for mitochondria. Listen, I've said it 100 times. Folate is super important, okay? But we still haven't figured out, well, what does that have to do with autism? Okay, we're getting there. Just hold on. So, in order to understand how leucovorin fits in, you have to understand what it's initially used for. Like, what does leucovorin exist to do right now? Because if you want to explore this intervention for you or a family member, and you want to partner with your healthcare provider, you need to be able to work together synergistically, and you need to be able to speak the same language. You need to be able to speak the same language, right? You can't use when you, I feel statements in order to justify a prescription sent to a pharmacy, right? We have to speak the same language, and this is the language of your provider. It's right in front of us. When we hear leucovorin, we think methotrexate. Methotrexate is a medicine that is used as an immunosuppressant, okay, so it can calm down the immune system, often used in autoimmune conditions like juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, okay? But it's also used in cancer treatments. So osteosarcoma, as an example. Individuals being treated for these conditions would receive methotrexate. So when you bring this up, when you Google leucovorin, when you talk to your provider, you talk to your family, if they know anything about medicine, they're thinking, well, does this kid have cancer or would rheumatoid arthritis? No. We think about methotrexate, and methotrexate works like this. Methotrexate blocks, okay, the circle, this wheel of folate metabolism. And the reason that it does that is because methotrexate needs to stop the rapid production of cancer cells. What do cancer cells need in order to produce more cancer cells? Well, they need DNA and they need RNA, right? They need logs on the fire, right? If we have a campfire because we're best friends, I'm in your backyard, we can only burn that fire for so long before it burns out. We need more firewood. And methotrexate comes along and says, guess what, cancer rascals? You guys don't get any more firewood. You're about to go cold. So methotrexate is used, and it shuts down this folate metabolism, but there's a problem. The problem is that folate, it feeds not only the bad cancer cells, right, to help them with the RNA and DNA synthesis, but it also feeds the good cells, the cells that are not naughty, okay? And then when you shut down both the good and the bad, you start to get all these consequences and all these issues that need to be addressed. And this is when we begin to think about leucovorin as it relates to leucovorin rescue. Look at this. So we give leucovorin, okay, to rescue individuals from, right, methotrexate treatments. Now, that doesn't mean that when you give leucovorin that you rescue the cancer cells. No. Once they've been punched in the face by methotrexate, they kind of stay down, right? You punch them and they kind of stay on the floor. But then there's all these other cells that still need, right? They still need to receive folate in order to repair themselves and divide and be healthy and help the body grow and repair.